Time to look once again at the Universal Monsters. That wonderful collection of films featuring Frankenstein, the Mummy, Dracula, all our favorites. And while everybody can name a few of them off the top of their heads, today we're talking about one of the often forgotten ones. Like, for example, did you know that there were 3 movies featuring the creature from the Black Lagoon, and that there was an attempt to make a female monster in the form of Paula Dupree, the ape woman?
A woman whose jungle instincts give her sinister power over man and beast.
Point is, there are a lot of monsters in this thing, and a few of them can get lost to time. And a few of them are so prevalent, you don't even realize that they started off as Universal Monsters in the first place. Some ideas just seem like they've been around forever. Ideas like the Invisible Man. The Invisible Man from 1933 tells the story of a scientist named Jack Griffin, a man who's found a way to turn himself invisible at the cost of his own sanity. He first attempts to turn himself back to normal, eventually realizing that he can use this new form to terrorize people, commit murder, and freeball anywhere he wants.
This will give them a bit of a shock. Something to write home about. Nice bedtime story for the kids, too, if they want it.
Now, there's a few reasons why I choose to focus on the Invisible Man as opposed to the more popular or well-known counterparts in the Universal Monsters. First of all, I really like the book, H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man. I've had a copy of it since I was 10 years old, and I actually went as the Invisible Man one year for Halloween. Everybody thought I was a mummy. It was very frustrating. Secondly, the Invisible Man is a pretty interesting one. I've never really seen a version of it that I haven't liked. Skinner was one of the only characters I enjoyed completely from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I've seen clips of the 1950s TV show where he's a private investigator, and it's hilariously dated. And yes, I liked Hollow Man. I think other than Kevin Bacon, I'm the only person who did.
I can't let you leave.
Sorry, babe. You don't have a choice.
Oh, yes, I do.
But the real reason why I wanted to talk about the Invisible Man in particular is because all the other monsters have kind of a limited or zero speech to them. Dracula speaks in this low, reserved voice. Frankenstein can only utter a few words at a time. Wolfman is a wolf. But the Invisible Man is a real person with a real personality, and he enjoys expressing himself, and it's always great.
Did you hear some shouting and screaming?
What was that screaming?
Had to take some exercise to keep warm. Killed a stupid little policeman. Smashed his head in.
I love the way he taunts and assaults townspeople, throwing around hats and glasses and babies. Oh my god, he just threw over a baby carriage. As hard as this is to believe, the Invisible Man may be the most deadly Universal monster. In this film alone, he kills 122 people. 20 of them are done on screen. He strangles a few, throws a couple off a cliff, beans some dude over the head with a bottle. And his biggest feat, he derails a train and kills 100 people in one go. Boris Karloff was supposed to be the Invisible Man himself, because I think he had a deal where anytime any role opened up, he was at least considered. But Karloff turned down the deal when he found out that he'd only be visible on screen at the end of the movie. So Claude Rains was picked for the part entirely by his voice, and to his credit, that's a damn great voice.
It's easy, really, if you're clever. A few chemicals mixed together, that's all. And flesh and blood and bone just fade away.
And as he talks, you can see him go from misguided to aggressive to mad to cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in like a matter of 20 seconds.
I meant to come back just as I was when you saw me last. But the fools wouldn't let me work in peace. I had to teach them a lesson. Suddenly I realized the power I held. The power to rule, to make the world grovel at my feet. We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there. Murders of great men, murders of little men, just to show we make no distinction.
It's really a remarkable scene because you believe in that moment that he's capable of all that rage and all that murderous intent. Now compare that with the scenes directly before and after that.
Here we go gathering nuts and may on a cold and frosty morning. Whoops!
I mean, I get what you're going for, but the way he jumps around with all the hooting and hollering, the best is that he taunts them as he does it, and then... I'm sorry, it's hard to take someone seriously when their go-to threat is to get naked in front of you.
Griffin, for heaven's sake!
Do you want me to take these off?
No.
Very well, then.
A lot of this movie is a goddamn riot. As much as The Man Who Laughs was the inspiration for the look of the Joker, this may have been where he got the actual jokes.
Here's your blooming bicycle. You can do what you like with it.
What is it? Something smacked my face.
Naughty boy.
Here I am. Aren't you pleased you found me?
His voice is absolutely what makes this movie for me. It's basically a radio drama, which is good because as a movie, it's kind of lacking something. It's pretty short. It's only about an hour and 10 minutes long, with the Invisible Man only staying in one particular area. I would have loved to have seen him expand the character a bit more, sneaking into unique and interesting places, using his powers for more than just making it rain on townspeople.
Money!
Plus, he describes certain things about his transformation, like how he can't handle food because it's visible until it's digested, and you kind of want to see that in practice. Imagine a scene where he maniacally drinks a fifth of scotch and you watch as it settles in the area where his stomach would be. Or when he smokes a cigarette in Kemp's chair, imagine if you saw the smoke actually travel into his lungs and then out again. Missed opportunities, man.
Look, he's all eaten away.
How do you like that, eh?
Also, while I'm on a tear about stuff that I think is wrong with this movie, I can say wholeheartedly that Claude Rains is completely entertaining. But everyone else in this film is either unbearably dumb or incredibly annoying. The other scientists and the love interest don't really add much to the story, they're just kind of there as an exposition machine. Kemp is okay as the assistant, but he's basically wooden compared to the presence that Rains puts forth in his performance. And the townspeople are, and I mean this with all the politeness I can, worthless.
Look out! Get indoors!
They are either dumb as a bag of hammers, ill to respond to a situation that's right in front of them, or in case of the wife of the innkeeper, a migraine in human form.
We ain't got none ready, not at this time of year. We don't usually have folks stopping, except in the summer.
That woman, in case you don't know, her name is Una O'Connor. She's a character actress that was in a ton of Universal films. I actually brought her up briefly when we were talking about Bride of Frankenstein. Oh god, Grandma's off her meds again, get her off set. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, you know, she's pretty funny. I wonder what would happen if she was on screen for longer than a few minutes. And then I was given my answer.
Oh, my freaking ears!
That cannot help that guy's concussion at all. More so than the alcohol. Now, as easy as it is to poke fun at this movie, especially with things like the effects, that's only because we're looking at it now. At the time, this could have been considered pretty groundbreaking. This absolutely predates green screen and CGI superimposing techniques, so how they did it was they had Claude Rains wear a black velvet bodysuit under his clothes, and then they matted that onto a fully black canvas and connected the shots. It cannot have been comfortable at all for him to do that, so props to him for going the extra mile. And it is hard to say that the end result isn't worth all of it. The image of him unwrapping himself is incredibly powerful. The shots of his body running around and disrobing are still hilarious, but effective. And there are some things that were obviously done in addition to the suits. There were wires and some strings used for a lot of the scenes where something had to be moved around. And even the appearance of his shoes on the ground and the ground caving in where his body lands after he gets shot. That's a pretty cool effect. Leave it to the movie sponsored by the NRA to have the guy gunned down in the last couple minutes. So yeah, there are some instances where it kind of bleeds through. It doesn't look all too convincing, but as a whole, looking back on it, the effect for the first time is impressive when you put it all in context. Wait a minute, why was he leaving shoe prints in the snow? Those are supposed to be his bare feet. He couldn't wear clothes. Still found something to complain about. Suck it, movie.
All right, go now. If you raise a finger against me, you're a dead man. I'm strong, and I'll strangle you.
So by today's standards, I would say The Invisible Man isn't exactly a great watch, but it's a harmless one and it keeps your attention for the whole time. I just don't think with the state of things nowadays, it's kept its pace with the rest of the legendary monster movies. But at the time, it was the most successful Universal monster film since Frankenstein. Claude Rains' career skyrocketed after this, and he was featured in a huge variety of films, including a pretty important role, as I said, in Casablanca.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much.
Even H.G. Wells, the author of the original story, had some nice things to say about the film. I mean, he didn't appreciate the changes that it made, especially when the film said that the chemicals are what drove him crazy, not that he was insane to begin with, and the invisibility just amplified his actions. But he did like some of the casting. In particular, he really liked Una O'Connor.
The Invisible Man!
Oh, God, make it stop!
It's like one drill in one ear and another drill in the other ear, and they're meeting in the middle.
As for the Invisible Man franchise itself, it didn't exactly fade away. The idea of the Invisible Man, whether it's the direct adaptation of the source material or not, it's been featured in more than a few films. It's a trope in a lot of TV shows and movie series, but in the Universal canon alone, there's the Invisible Man, there's The Invisible Man Returns, The Invisible Woman, The Invisible Man's Revenge, and my personal favorite, a propaganda film from 1942 called The Invisible Agent, where the Invisible Man fights Nazis.
Get in now. Don't let him get away.
Why didn't I look at that one instead? There was also a rumor going around in Hollywood that The Invisible Man would be getting a remake to fit in the planned Dark Universe series. Johnny Depp was going to be starring as the Invisible Man. That, of course, got shelved after The Mummy came out, and everyone agreed that maybe we don't need this whole universe, and you should focus on making one good movie before you introduce 5 more. So of all the Universal monster movies, this isn't exactly where I'd say to start, but it's still necessary viewing if you want a good look at what the studio is putting out these days. The Invisible Man as a whole doesn't paint a clear picture from the beginning, but rather drops you in the middle of a mad world and just flat out tells you to accept it. And whether or not you do is entirely up to you, but hopefully you get a few good laughs and a small amount of scares out of it.
That's the way the money goes. Up goes the weasel. Money, 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 money.
Next time we're going to take a look at an underrated sequel to arguably the greatest horror movie of all time.